Welcome to Woah Drama Stories. We indulge of speaking of day-to-day troubles of human beings. Let's not wait any longer and start with the video. Story 1. Let me preface this post by saying that I'm not completely putting the blame of the way my niece has turned out on her. I'm completely aware of the fact that she's just a product of her environment and of the way that she was brought up, but as you guys know, the real world doesn't care what your family background is. It doesn't look at you, for the most part, that you're a person made up of experiences. Especially when you're a terrible human being, and I think the age at which my niece is at currently, people are more likely than not to not give a F that you're the way you are because of your horrible parenting. Leaving all that aside, if there's absolutely anywhere else, I'll let you all be the judge of that. So here the post goes. My niece was a bully to my daughter ever since she reached the age where she had some sort of consciousness. Unfortunately, I and everyone around me just brushed it off as friendly banter or joking. Needless to say, this went on for a long time after. Even when I realized my mistake and started calling out my niece and my sister over it, there was no coming back. What felt like a couple of years of enabling damaged the ability of my niece to become a better person beyond repair, and her bullying did not stop. The relationship between my sister and I, which was already horrible, deteriorated even more due to our constant fighting, and well, stupid me did not do anything but fight because I thought something would change, and someday or the other, we all could become a happy little family. I really projected my wishes for my daughter and niece to have a happy relationship that my sister and I could not have, and sadly, it was at the expense of my daughter's mental well-being. I got the slap that I very much needed to open my eyes when I overheard my daughter talk to her best friend when she was 15 about how Christmas feels like a nightmare to her because that's the time she had to see my sister and niece. That day, my heart broke into a million pieces and I decided to cut all contact with both of them. There was absolutely a lot of drama involved, but in the end, watching my daughter's mental health improve drastically is what helped me keep going through this dark time. Fast forward 2 years ahead. Currently, my daughter is 17, thriving and living her best life. As for my niece, I didn't really know what she's been up to until yesterday. It was yesterday when I heard a knock on my door and was astounded to be greeted by a very exhausted version of my niece. She had dark circles under her eyes. She did not look like she'd been keeping up with her well-being at all. She begged me to let her inside of my house, telling me she'd tell me once I let her in. I was terrified looking at her condition, so I let her inside, fed her some food, and that's when she began talking. She told me how her parents kicked her out of the house because she came out to them as lesbian. I was disappointed but not really surprised upon hearing this, because my sister used to bully me for being bisexual. The topic was very close to my heart, not just mine but also my daughter's, who are bisexual herself. So we decided to let her stay at our house for a while. That's where the issue arises though. Today, right after a day of my niece living with us, my sister somehow got a hold of the situation and called me up, berating me and telling me how I'm making a huge mistake and how I'm basically trying to get her daughter on my side. I'm pretty sure of what I'm doing, but my husband says I should really think about what my sister said and try not to get in the middle of her parenting, especially after knowing how messed up both of them are. Now, I'll let you guys be the judge. Any advice would be appreciated. Update. Hi Reddit. I know I'm super late at updating this post, but honestly, I've been just so exhausted by everything that happened. I ended up taking a much needed break from social media to detox, and although I'm far from recovered from everything that has gone down, I think I feel okay enough to drop by to give you guys an update. Well, unfortunately, it's sad to say that I called this update a wholesome one, as some of you guys were anticipating. A couple of days after we let our niece stay over at our place, my sister showed up along with her husband. We let her inside the house and she immediately began screaming at my niece, asking her if she was also going to ruin us by bringing her drug addict/dealer boyfriend to our place. I was absolutely confused, so I asked her what she meant by it. She seemed just as confused as I was after I expressed my confusion and explained to me how they had kicked her out because she was stealing money from their place to buy drugs for her addict boyfriend, and how she had practically tried starting a drug dealing business with him. I was dumbfounded. I instantly told her what her daughter had told me was her side of the story, and my sister practically laughed at my face and told me how this wasn't the first time her daughter had used someone's weak point to create her own sob story. My niece's face became white as a ghost by that point, and I got the confirmation I needed. I was extremely disappointed. I began tearing up at that point and was surprised when my sister didn't say anything as I lectured her. It all ended with my sister taking my niece away with her. She even went as far as to apologize and thank me for keeping her under my roof. Ever since then, my sister has been giving me updates about her going to therapy and such, Although I know the situation has further deteriorated any chances of my daughter, or even I, to trust my niece and build a relationship with her, I wouldn't say I'm wishing anything bad on her. Even after everything that happened, I still hope she grows out of the poison her mom had filled her up with and blooms into the great person she has the potential to be. Comment 1. I can sense something suspicious with the niece's story. I mean, it's either that, or otherwise, why would the sister try to call OP? Comment 2. OMG, this story took such a turn. I really thought it was just the sister trying to be negative and irritating, but I was blown away by the revelation. Glad the truth came out earlier, though. Story 2. I've known that my sister was always an entitled bitch. I mean, ever since my dad got with my stepmom, it was like they made it their life's mission to spoil her rotten. Initially, me being the naive young girl, I really went along with them. I really let my stepsister have everything that she wanted. I let her become the star of my parents' eyes, all because her dad had passed away. Sadly, it took me too long to understand that my mom had passed away too, and I needed just as much support as she needed. As a result of all of this, and many more things going on in the background, my sister became an entitled piece of trash. And that too, not just towards me, but everyone around her. I started to distance myself from her, and so did most of the people. She became a very bitter, sad person from inside, and now still lives with my parents at the age of 28. Honestly, I don't even know what got into me, but I decided to make the mistake of wanting to spend this Christmas season after years with my parents and her, and honestly, it was all going well. My parents even allowed me to get my dog over, and it was really calm for the most part. We had good food, did stuff together here and there, and were just getting into the spirit of Christmas. Until the situation took place. It started when I was taking my dog out on a walk. He usually gets very excited for these walks, so it wasn't surprising that he was excited for this one as well. I was just grabbing some things to get us going from the guest bedroom while I heard a loud crack. I knew something had gone wrong. I immediately rushed to the downstairs living room, and I could hear the panic ensue with my sister and mom both screaming at my dog. It was pretty evident to me what had happened once I got into the living room. I was greeted by my very overwhelmed dog, and a phone completely crashed on the floor. Now, I'm not going to lie and say my dog can never do such things. Mistakes happen, and I'm also aware that my sister has a horrible habit of keeping things where they shouldn't be. So I wasn't surprised when this happened. I knew I had to take accountability, so I tried to defuse the situation by telling my sister that I was ready to pay for how much money the same model for her phone cost. I told her to email me the amount and I'd immediately pay her back. That seemed to have calmed her and my mom down, so I thought that would be it. Here's the kicker, though. After we had the talk, I left the house to clear my head and walk my dog. My sister instantly emailed me a long list of phones that she was looking to buy, and they all went way beyond the price her old phone cost. I returned home soon after and called them all out on it. My stepmom and dad were both enraged beyond belief. They called me stupid, selfish, and all sorts of names. It all started with a screaming match and ended with me getting kicked out of the house on Christmas Eve. I spent the evening driving 3 hours back home with my phone getting blown up by all of them calling me a horrible person. So this is how I'm spending Christmas, in an empty house. No food, no Christmas decorations, nothing with me except for my dog to cuddle. Was I really in the wrong here? Update. Firstly, I would like to thank you all for your guys' warm, encouraging comments. It meant more to me than family ever did, and it's really not an exaggeration. I took up your advice to go visit friends to spend Christmas, and boy, was it all worth it. The moment I told my friends what went down, they immediately picked me up, and I was taken to one of their homes for a warm dinner and a glass of wine. It was calm, cost, and something I had desperately needed. That night, I had nothing to give them. All I had was the warmth I could provide them with my love, but it was at that night that I realized the true meaning behind the saying, family goes beyond blood, and I was really made to believe that I found my family. I ended up staying over at the same friend's place, and they had already started to help me to look for a lawyer to sort the situation out in a civil manner, because I knew these people have no sense of humanity in them. Once it gets sorted, I'm hoping I'm cutting these people out of my life with closed eyes and no regrets. I'm hoping this post inspires you guys to give yourself a break from people unworthy to be in your life and to do the same. Comment 1. Great post, but just a suggestion. Please try to dig more into what actually happened. There's definitely a possibility that your sister might have pulled that BS to get some money out of you. Comment 2. You handled the situation like a champ, OP. Maybe this Christmas your gift from your family was their departure. LOL. Wishing you nothing but peace of mind. Story 3. My friend Veronica has been a very deeply insecure person ever since I moved to the same high school as hers in junior year. We became good friends, hard and fast, but it was pretty evident to me, and in fact most of the people around us, that she was a deeply insecure person. I wouldn't blame her for it, though. The reason she was as deeply insecure as she was all due to her family and their super unrealistic beauty standards. Veronica grew highly insecure of herself. The beautiful person I knew from the inside out started getting procedures done on herself from the day she turned 18, and by the time we all graduated from college, Veronica became someone completely unrecognizable. Veronica began to despise her past self, so whenever she found a trace of the old Veronica, as she'd say, she'd do everything in her power to erase it. Unfortunately, though, Veronica just couldn't erase the past she had been trying to erase and run away from, and although everyone knew it was going to haunt her, no one knew it was going to be so soon and so bad. It all began when our friend group from college, who's usually scattered all across the country, met up for our early, week-long reunion. It was a blast. This year was especially special because we all introduced each other to our partners, after about 2 years of not being able to meet due to lockdown. During one of these days of all of us hanging out together, we were ending our night at this beautiful hotel with a private room. We all had gathered around the pool, all considerably drunk, all reminiscing about college life. That is when my friend Joe pulled out his phone and called us all closer to him. He showed us a cute slideshow of all the memories he had created. I could instantly sense Veronica's panic. The alcohol in us didn't help either. I saw Veronica, and then I saw her fiancé looking at Veronica's pictures. I didn't know what took over me at that moment, but I just blurted out something regarding her plastic surgery. Something regarding how that was around the time she got her first procedure done, and all hell broke loose. Veronica became a crying mess, and her fiancé kept asking her what this was all about. When Veronica refused to answer, her fiancé turned to me for answers. I stayed silent, and Veronica screamed at me. Everything went downhill from there onwards, with everyone blaming me for all that happened. It ended with all of us leaving for our hotel rooms. The next day arrived, and Veronica and her fiancé were nowhere to be found. They had checked out of their hotel rooms, leaving nothing but a goodbye text behind. Things have worsened from there onwards, with everyone calling me the a-hole for what I did. So, Reddit, am I really the a-hole? Update. This update is earlier than anticipated, but the situation is almost resolved, so I thought, why should I keep you guys waiting? So here it goes. After a couple of hours of Veronica and her fiancé checking out of their hotel rooms, I got a call from Veronica asking me to meet her at a cafe close to the hotel we stayed at. After mustering a lot of courage, I went to meet her, and I, her, and her fiancé sat down to talk. I was surprised when the first thing she did was apologize to me. She went on to say that she knew she was absolutely in the wrong in this situation. She knew she kept it all in the hiding for too long. She expressed to me how it all felt like it was all weighing on her for too long, and that the moment I said what I said last night, something blew up inside of her. The conversation was taken over by her fiancé after that, who told me he didn't side with me because he was too shaken up by the discovery. The very next day, they went outside and talked through everything, and apparently, they're both going to be getting individual and couples counseling. They both once again apologized to me profusely. Veronica had tears in her eyes as she told me that she had realized how much she put me under the bus to feel good about herself. I told her that I understood, but that I wasn't going to forgive her after the way she reacted. I told her this situation created a dent in my heart, and I wasn't going to set myself on fire to keep her warm or try to fill her void. She seemed disappointed at that statement, but said she understood. After that, all three of us returned to the hotel, where Veronica explained the situation to everyone else, and they all came forward to apologize to me. I gave them the same response as Veronica, and left soon after. I'm home now, and well, it's been weird. I've been talking to Veronica and my friends, but it just doesn't feel the same. Do I regret what I did? Not so much anymore. Do I blame Veronica for what happened? Nope. But do I think our relationship will take time to heal? Yes, and I'll leave that upon fate. Comment 1. Veronica messed up majorly. Her insecurities are not your concern. You handled the situation perfectly by not accepting the apology too quickly. Comment 2. Why is everyone blaming you for the situation? What about the guy friend who showed you guys the pictures to begin with? OP really did a good job by pushing everyone away because there's definitely something wrong with everyone pushing OP under the bus.